Welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast, brought to you by Violet Defense. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products or would like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of the technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and the experience that you need. Thanks again to Violet Defense Technology for sponsoring the Educational AD Podcast. The FIAAA also wants to thank our diamond sponsor, Varsity Brands, including BSN, Varsity Spirit, and Herff Jones. Varsity Brands, elevating student experiences in sport, spirit, and achievement. The FIAAA also wants to thank our great platinum sponsors, including Gipper, sports graphics made incredibly simple. Ephesus Lighting, innovating a brighter future at every level. Booster Digital Displays, revolutionize your game day experience. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Vital Signs, bring student achievements to life. And Camp Mobile Band, where leaders communicate better. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast, brought to you by Violet Defense Technology. Today, we're heading out to the great Pacific Northwest. We're going to be visiting with Mon Perry. DaMon is the Assistant Athletic Director at University Prep in Seattle. DaMon, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're excited to hear what's going on out in the state where I went to high school back in the day. So here we go. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school, and maybe your path that led you to your current position at University Prep.
Yeah, so I'm from, grew up in Los Angeles, California, born and raised. Grew up playing a lot of different sports. My dad was a coach for a lot of my youth sports teams. So I played basketball, football, baseball. Had a short stint playing soccer for a little bit for a couple of weeks. So yeah, I played a lot of sports growing up, but basketball was kind of the sport that I chose to play kind of through from middle school, kind of through college. So I went to I went to a public school for my first 2 years of high school, Narbonne High School, which is in the South Bay area of the LA County. And then after that, those 2 years, I went to a private school in Los Angeles, Price High School, played basketball at both places, and then was fortunate enough to play at Whittier College, which is a small Division III school here, just east of Los Angeles, and was able to play there and graduate from there in 2012 and with a major in kinesiology with emphasis in sports management. And then a minor in business administration. So after I graduated from Whittier College, I took a year to get more into coaching. So I went back to Price High School and was an assistant there for my head coach. Just kind of learning about the coaching thing, kind of just trying to get better at that and kind of figure out what I wanted to do. At that same time, I was applying for graduate school programs because I kind of knew that if I wanted to, kind of progress, whether in athletics, athletic administration, or coaching, that having a master's degree kind of looks good. So I was fortunate enough to get accepted into the Intercollegiate Athletic Leadership Program here at the University of Washington in Seattle. So that's a one-year program. So I got into that program. It started in June. And it kind of finished that following June. So, and during that same time, I was a graduate assistant for the University of Washington's men's basketball program. under Coach Lorenzo Romar, who was the head coach at the time. So I was fortunate enough to kind of be a graduate assistant kind of the first year. Then at the end of that first year, they kept me on for an additional year, kind of in a support staff role, kind of working with our director of operations and our coaches with a bunch of different like admin things and coaching things as well. So it was a really great experience for me to kind of get both the coaching experience and the athletic administration experience. So after that 2 years, moved back to Los Angeles and got into high school coaching, both at the school level and at the club level for 2 years. And then in 2017, my assistant coach at Whittier College became the head coach because my head coach became the athletic director at Whittier College. So he gave me a call and asked me to come on as an assistant coach. So I was an assistant coach at Whittier College, my alma mater, for one season, 2017, 2018 season. And then after that, I mean, I kind of already knew that I wanted to get involved in athletic administration at the high school level. I just didn't know when it was going to happen. I was kind of preparing myself. I'm sure we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I was kind of preparing myself for that kind of whenever it would happen. And then the assistant AD position opened up at University Prep, and decided to apply. And it was a quick process. I always joke with people. I applied, got interviewed, and got hired for the position probably within less than a month. And then soon after that, I started working kind of like a few weeks after that. So it was a fast process, but it was a great opportunity for me to kind of get started in athletic administration. So that's kind of that's what's led me here. And this is my third year now here at University Prep.
I always love to hear the stories. And again, some similarities in my path. I started out in public school. And again, this is my 41st year. Started out in public school, coached college for about 9 years, and then kind of eased into the private schools where I've been for, the last 20 plus years. So your experiences have really must have given you a great foundation, the GA experience at the University of Washington, the internships, and then, coaching in the public school and the colleges. How have some of those experiences helped you out at your current position at University Prep?
Yeah, it's funny because like with all these different experiences, I'm sure you have the same thing. Like you're able to kind of pick things from different places you've been to kind of apply to your current role. So, there are things that, that happen in my current role that, I refer to when I was a graduate assistant at UW. And, I'm able to kind of pull from that experience to kind of help navigate that situation. And then as a coach, being a coach, both at the high school and college level, I'm able to kind of talk with our coaches, through some situations and kind of help them navigate some situations in my current role there at University Prep. So I'm able to kind of pick things that I kind of picked up from other coaches or other admin people to, be able to bring the most value that I can to my current role.
No, you're absolutely right. It just gives you those little nuggets and a perspective to share. I remember when I was still a head football coach, I'd be talking with parents and I could tell them, hey, I've been in your seat before as a parent, when my kids were going through the recruiting process. I've also been that coach, that college coach, trying to decide, is this kid, going to get a full scholarship or a partial? And I'm that coach that's been placing kids for, 20 plus years. So again, good stuff. DaMon, we always like to talk about the importance of leadership and particularly mentorship in our profession. So I'm curious, who are some of your mentors growing up? Maybe family members or coaches that you had, or maybe even people that you've worked with or worked for. Whose voice do you still hear in your head when you're talking to kids and coaches?
Yeah, first and foremost, I always hear my parents. They instilled from me at a young age to always, be a good person and to strive to be the best at whatever it is that you do. And also to be a leader. They try to instill those leadership qualities in me at a young age, just to kind of, be your own person, be a leader. So I always hear their voices kind of in a lot of things that I do. And also my sister. My sister was like 7 years older than me, and she played basketball played basketball at the club and high school level and went on and get a scholarship to play at Columbia University. So, I always kind of looked, she was kind of more of a mentor kind of by what she did, because I was always trying to kind of match up to her and kind of be at the same level that she was at. So she was another one. Also, Coach Mike Lynch, which is my coach at Price High School, the private school that I went to. He's had a huge impact on kind of where I am today and kind of who I am as a person. He really pushed me and, instilled a lot of confidence in me to be a really good player. And, post playing for him, like to kind of really get involved either as a coach or as an athletic administrator, he's played a huge role in that, definitely. Another one would be Lance Levetter, who was the director of basketball operations at the University of Washington. He was the one who kind of allowed me to kind of, be a graduate assistant and then have that additional year in a support staff role. He was kind of one that I worked with closely with all the logistics stuff, stuff behind the scenes to kind of make sure that the program was running well and efficiently. So he's another one that it was definitely one of my mentors. It's still one of my mentors. And then now as an AD, Paul Jones, he was the athletic director at Orange Lutheran High School in Orange County, California. He's now at a different school, at Sunny Hills High School. But he was the one that really introduced me and kind of showed me kind of what he did. He kind of let me kind of follow him around, ask a ton of questions. I still ask him a ton of questions. So he was one that really kind of introduced me to the AD role at the high school level. Another one now who's my supervisor, Rebecca Moe. She's been in this role for 20 plus years, and she's been an amazing partner and advocate for me and kind of support system and resource to kind of help me navigate situations that I've been dealing with in this role for 3 years. So she's definitely one of my mentors as well. Chris Hartley, who's the AD at the Lakeside School here in Seattle, Washington. He's another one that I feel like I send him emails probably every, at least once a month about different things, kind of what he's thinking, kind of what they're doing at their school that we may be able to apply at our school. He's another great resource. And then also, I'm a regional captain for the NOMAD, which is the National Organization of Minority Athletic Directors. So the board of ADs for that group, Tony Fisher and Anthony Thomas, they've been really good, resources for me and mentors for me. Kind of navigating this role as an athletic director as well. So a lot of different mentors. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch, but I try to pick the brains of those who have been in positions that I'm in or looking to be in. So those would be my mentors for sure.
Oh, no, I mean, that's great that you have not only a vast pool, but you're still able to get in touch with them. And of course, I know Rebecca Moe and Tony Fisher, he was down in Florida for a number of years. That's a great group of mentors that you have. I failed to mention when I introduced you that you are a certified athletic administrator. And I think it's important for our younger ADs, and you're certainly, you're younger than me, but I think it's important for young ADs to hear about the journey and how that happens. Well, geez, how does that person become a CAA or a CMAA? So talk a little bit about how you got involved with your state association and then how you went through that process of earning your CAA.
Yeah, so I got started kind of with this process before I even became an AD here at University Prep. I got started with it when I was actually coaching at Whittier College, because I kind of knew that this was the way that I wanted to go, kind of the route that I wanted to go. So I was kind of doing research to figure out what do I need to do to kind of get my foot in the door, kind of stand out when it's time for me to apply for these positions. And then I came across the NIAAA website with all the different certifications, and I wanted to start getting involved. So I became a RAA. I took a couple of the basic courses, and I became an RAA before I even became the assistant AD here at University Prep. While I was coaching at Whittier College. So I think I took the last class probably after our season, right after our season. So that's what I also got involved at the state level in California. I attended the California State ADs conference in San Francisco, just as someone who just wanted to learn. Like, and there were a lot of people like, where are you? What school are you at as AD? I'm like, I'm not at any school. Like, I'm a college coach right now, but I want to become a high school athletic director. So I was kind of just looking to learn and, those workshops there and being able to kind of, be there with, one of my mentors, Paul Jones, and kind of talk with a couple other ADs. So that was a really good experience. And then once I got here in Washington, Rebecca Mo was really, she really wanted me to start getting involved at the state level here in Washington, really start taking more of the LTI courses to kind of become a CAA. So I just took my test to become a CAA in November. So I was able to kind of get through all the courses, took them at, the national conference 2 years ago. And then took the final couple of courses at this past national conference, the virtual conference. So, it's definitely been something that's allowed me to stand out and give me a lot of, resources to be able to continue to learn and grow in the profession. And also has been a great way for me to kind of be able to connect and network with different ADs, whether it's at the state level or at the national level. So it's been a great experience.
Great public service announcement there for the certification process. And as a longtime member of the National Certification Committee, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't remind you to start working toward that CMAA also.
Absolutely, I'm working on it.
Okay. We are visiting with Mon Perry, Certified Athletic Administrator and the Assistant AD at University Prep in Seattle. We're going to take a quick break and hear from our podcast sponsor, Violet Defense. The FIAAA would like to thank Violet Defense for sponsoring the Educational AD podcast. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products or you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of the technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and the experience you need. Thanks again to Violet Technology for sponsoring the Educational AD podcast. We're back with DaMon Perry. Coach, one of the things we like to do with the podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. What are some initiatives or some programs at University Prep that when you step back and look at, you can say with equal parts pride and humility, boy, we really do a great job with this? What are some best practices at University Prep?
Well, I think the first thing is both Rebecca and I really we really feel that communication is extremely important in this role, to the point where I feel like sometimes we want to over communicate just to make sure that everyone has the proper information. So whether that's parents knowing where, what teams their students are on, logistics in terms of where the games are, expectations in terms of what's the expectation of for certain teams, the objectives for certain teams between the freshman, JV, and varsity level. Just communication just overall, just to make sure that everyone is kind of aware of what's going on and has all of the proper information. I think that's something that both Rebecca and I have really, harped on, just to make sure that we are kind of running the program the best way that we can. So communication is one. And then also our school is we have a no-cut policy from our middle school level and at the upper school level. So what that means is basically for any student that comes out, regardless of where they are with experience or skill, we're able to place them on a certain team. And I think that's something that, for some schools a lot of schools don't do that, but at our school, it provides students who may have been a little hesitant to come out for a certain sport to have that experience to be able to participate, regardless of if they're looking to go on and play in college or professionally, or if this is something that they want to do, just another way for them to be healthy and to be fit, and another avenue for them to kind of get to know some of their classmates. So that program has been extremely important for us here at the University Prep. And I think it's something that we really, harp and thrive on in terms of being able to create that environment where everyone can come in and everyone feels like they will have a space for them and that they're welcome to try out a sport, even if they're, don't have that much experience in that particular sport. So I think communication and providing a space where everyone is welcome, feels that they're welcome, and to be able to strive to be the best versions of themselves kind of within the sports. So I think those are two things that really stand out for us here at University Prep.
Very, very cool. I love on the communication part. You use that phrase over communicate. I had a boss many years ago that introduced me to that term. I really love it. Okay. And again, we're at a private school as well. And we have, we don't call it no cut, but at our middle school level, we do the same thing. We have multiple teams and we find the right team, the right fit for that student athlete. Good stuff.
Yep.
For our listeners, we're recording this episode on May 19th, which puts us well past the 1-year anniversary of COVID. DaMon, I know that the state of Washington had a different way that they handled COVID. In Florida, we had basically a 1-month delay. And then we kind of went through as normal with obvious protocols and social distancing practices in place. But share a little bit with our listeners, what happened this year with not just return to play, but return to school in Washington. What's going on as far as COVID?
Yeah, so in terms of school, we were, obviously once March 2020, we turned completely to online learning. And we stayed through online learning for the remainder of that school year, like the last school year, and probably up until, I want to say November, December of this year, of this school year. After that, we started to kind of test out, kind of a hybrid model where we had a couple of grade levels on campus at certain times, maybe for like half day. And it kind of built from there. So we started small with like hybrid, certain grades for, did that for maybe a month or two. And then we got to the point where we had half the, upper school was on campus 2 days a week, full time. And then middle school was on campus 2 days a week, full time. Up until the point where now in May, where everyone is pretty much on campus, both middle school and upper school at our school. So, and it's been going pretty well so far for us. We haven't had any, we're following all the proper protocols and abiding by kind of the state guidelines. And, it's been really great to have all of the students on campus again. And I can tell that they're happy to be on campus, to be with their teachers, with their classmates, with their friends. So it's been a great experience. With athletics, we probably at the beginning of the school year, we weren't really doing anything either at the middle school or upper school level until around probably October, when we kind of got the green light to start doing small pod sessions with, groups of 5 to 6 or maybe 10 if you were in an outdoor sport. So we were able to do that both at the middle school and the upper school level, just to be able to provide something while we were trying to figure out as a state what we were going to do in terms of seasons and when it was going to be okay for us to be able to have competitions and things like that. So we did that probably up until around January. And then we got the okay to start competitions at the high school level in February. So starting February 1st. So the way we did it here in the state of Washington was it's 6-week seasons. So we did fall sports first. It started February 1st. And then season 2 was our spring sports, which started, I want to say, in March 15th. And then right now we are in week 2 of our 6-week basketball season here. So it's been, we've had a lot of different changes to the schedule. I want to say the schedules have changed probably 10 plus times since we started the school year. But it's been great to be able to kind of get, we're at the kind of final stretch here. So with a couple weeks left for basketball. So it's been great to have competitions and, be able to provide that environment for the students, especially for a lot of the students who lost a lot. This our spring sports students last year who didn't even get to have a season. So I was really excited to have them back out there for their sports and be able to compete at a high level. So it's been a whirlwind, but we're at the final stretch of it here in the state of Washington.
Well, we just, again, as you follow this from, state to state, it's just, you're so, it's such a relief when a state decides to return to play. What was it like for your kids, your coaches, and your parents, when they found out, hey, we're going to have some kind of sports season?
Yeah, I think everyone was excited. I mean, I think they, once we started having the pod sessions and the small group sessions, the itch to compete got higher and higher and higher, both from the students and the parents. Like, I think everyone was kind of advocating for us to be able to compete. So once we got the green light, I think it was just pure excitement. Whatever. I think our parents and students were very appreciative of whatever that looked like. So whatever needed to be done for us to be able to compete, whether that means wearing a mask for outdoor sports, indoor sports, where that means parents can't come to our indoor competitions and they have to watch it online. I think they were just very happy to have sports and competitions back in any shape or fashion. So that's been my experience. The parents and students have been extremely appreciative of the work that we've had to do to kind of get this running and rolling.
Yeah, I think, it's natural for the kids and the coaches to be excited, but I don't think that there was another group more excited than the parents to see the kids come back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. DaMon, another question we've been asking athletic directors since we started this almost a year ago revolves around the idea of social awareness, social justice, if you will. And I know it's a tricky question, but what are some things from your perspective? What are some things that athletic directors can do better in this area with their kids, their coaches, their families? How can we do a better job?
I think the first thing is really to, come to these conversations and situations with an open mind. I think everyone has a lot of different, life experiences and perspectives and, backgrounds. I think athletics is a great way to kind of bring a lot of different people together. So I think from my experiences, being able to ensure that we're creating, as ADs, and making sure that we're creating environments where, everyone feels, welcome, that their perspective and background is appreciated, both coaches and students. And to ensure that ensure that we are kind of giving our coaches in our community kind of the proper resources to be able to provide these safe environments. I think through a lot of this, there's been a lot of different organizations that have come up that have been created to be able to provide more of these more resources for students and for coaches and for communities. Whether it be their different state associations creating DEI committees, or there being like the Nomad group, or the Global Women ADs group, different organizations, having the National AD Conference, AD webinars with Amanda Waters and Ira Childress, where they're being able to provide those different type of resources for different ADs like that. So I think it's extremely, like I said, it's extremely important that we as ADs provide that environment for our coaches and for our students, and be able to be willing to have, uncomfortable conversations. I think through a lot of that, there's growth in that, being able to, listen to someone else who has maybe a different opinion or a perspective from your own, and to be able to kind of figure out a way to come together to create a common goal. Because I think a lot of this has been, whether it be, some people think it's political, some people think it's, XYZ. I think a lot of it is just, a human situation, and, just being open to realizing that, and being able to support the people that you work with or that you, are partners with kind of in that process. So, hopefully that made sense, but I think it's really just kind of providing that a safe environment for everyone involved, regardless of where they come from or who they are or what their background is.
Oh, no, I really appreciate you sharing that. And, you mentioned 3 organizations that really kind of came out of, this pandemic to a degree, the National AD Network with Amanda and Ira, the Global Community with Jen Brooks. We've had all of them on our shows, by the way. Yeah. And also Nomad. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Tell our listeners a little bit about the organization and, maybe how they can get involved if they'd like to.
Yeah, so Nomad organization, it's a national organization of minority athletic directors, and what we usually do is we have their webinars, monthly webinars where we have different speakers come on, I think our last webinar was with two ADs at the college level, the UCLA, the new UCLA AD, and then the AD at Auburn University, when they were kind of just talking about their experience as being, kind of African Americans in an AD role at the collegiate level. So it was great information. It's an organization that provides great information, and then we also have, sessions to where, different ADs can share ideas, kind of what they're doing in their state, what they're doing at their school, and also providing those DEI resources that we can provide at our own schools in our own communities as well. So I think the best way to get involved is go to the nomadassociation.org, and then you'll be able to kind of follow the prompts and be able to kind of sign up from there. But it's an association to where you don't necessarily have to be a person of color to be involved. If it's something that you want to kind of get involved, just to be able to provide that information to your school or programs, it's a very welcoming kind of organization that just wants to be able to provide that environment for both minority ADs and for people who are just looking to just better their schools and communities as well. So it's been a great program for me so far, and I'm the regional captain for Section 8. I'm still trying to figure out kind of what that's going to look like in the next couple years, but it's been a great way for me to kind of connect with other ADs and across the state, just be able to kind of learn from them and just be able to provide additional resources for my school here in Seattle.
No, I think you're doing the job right now. Is you're promoting the organization, and again, Tony reached out to me, and I signed up. Again, great speakers, great program, a lot of education. We want to be lifelong learners, and this is certainly an area that many of us can stand to learn more. DaMon Perry, this has been really cool getting to know you and hearing about your program, but we're not done yet. We always like to wrap up with what we call the athletic director's toolbox. I'm going to ask you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in DaMon Perry's athletic director toolbox?
I think the first thing would be a Google Drive. With access to a Google Drive, because for me, I pretty much 90% of my job, a lot of that stuff goes in my Google Drive, so I think that's really a great way of being organized and having access to different things at a moment's notice when needed. So Google Drive would be my first thing in the toolbox. The second thing would be a completed handbook for coaches, parents, and students. Being able to have that information to be able to provide it to your community and to be able to refer back to it whenever, some challenges or situations arise. I think that's extremely important. And then lastly, I think it will be a contact list of your administrators and your facilities people, because those individuals are extremely important to the overall success of an athletics program. In my experience, 3 years in, having that, access to your admin team to be able to feel that they are supporting you and you can reach out to them for different questions. And then also your facilities people, because I think they play a huge role in kind of how things run, just making sure that facilities are kind of in great shape, fields are in great shape. So I think you want to be really good friends with your facilities people in my experience. So I guess those would be the 3 things: Google Drive, handbooks for all individuals involved in the program, and access to contact lists for your admin and maintenance and facilities staff.
And, no surprise, all 3 of those, I think, would tie in very nicely with that idea that you talked about of communication, over communication, just so critical.
Mm-hmm.
I love the facilities component. When that, whether it's the groundskeeper or the custodian that sweeps the gym, when they're saying, hey, that's my gym floor or that's my field, you've got that culture built in. Great stuff. DaMon Perry, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way that they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my email is dperry@universityprep.org. That's pretty much the best way to contact me right now. But I'm also on both LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm not as active on Twitter in terms of writing. I'm kind of more just looking at other people's stuff. But if you kind of want to see what I'm looking at, or kind of get involved in, I usually post it there. So you can pretty much search my name in Twitter and it should pop up, and then LinkedIn as well. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I like to share a lot of different things that involve in athletics and just sports in general there. So that's another great way of connecting with me. Just search my name, Mon Perry, and it should pop up. So those are probably the best ways to get in contact with me.
And he's also on the NIAAA portal, so you can get contact information there as well. DaMon, thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
For our listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of these interviews are also being uploaded to the FIAAA Educational AD YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening. Come back again next time for another episode of the Educational AD.